honor both, because we
Yeah.
do live in a polar world. Yeah, we live in this world that has two poles, and like the outside reality of that is showing us that there is this dark, day and night, inhale, exhale. These opposites are happening, but where on the spectrum you find yourself, that's like, go and
Yeah.
discover
That's
yourself, go and
individually,
so
everybody. Yeah.
yes, and to actually open that rainbow of colors and say, hey, today I want to be this and tomorrow I might be that. And it doesn't, like, I don't want to be confined in boxes. I want to be open, able to be free and to be.
But we have to go into a box first. This is
Exactly.
important. So it's lovely that you bring this up when we talk about acceptance of diversity. So again, for everyone listening who's trans and non-binary and so on, like, I want to actually take my hat off to you. Right? I'm not saying that to get some brownie points that you like me. Like, I'm telling you that because you are breaking the boxes of conformity and you're pushing the boundary. And it's definitely not easy because we're in deep programmed systems that are telling us how it is. But when we move beyond that, and even in meditation, you drop out and you drop behind all stories and you drop into the deeper connection of all that is, the source, the whatever you want to call it, you drop into that space. You start to look at it from a much clearest point of awareness. And you go, okay, these are play points within my own journey of liberation, right? And so when we talk about acceptance of our diversity and welcoming that, we have to also have empathy for those that are so identified with that old way that you're actually shattering their beliefs. And in order to shatter somebody's beliefs means they've got to die. So we've got to remember that whenever we're breaking a box of conformity, we're saying to all the people in there, and it really feels like this on a palpable level, they feel that they are physically dying. So when you come and go, hey, we can be like this, that's like, wow, man, that is like breaking lots of layers of identity. So we all have to have compassion and empathy. Even the beautiful ones that are going out there and that you're such a minority in the collective, you're doing phenomenal work, and you in my opinion, you are free, and it is acceptance of diversity. But let's remember the level of depth of conditioning and lies and fabricated stories that we have to kind of wade through, right? And if we could all be a little bit more gentle with each other, this would be a beautiful gift. And lastly on this, I want to say that we are going through an identity crisis right now. That's why we're seeing so many. I got told when I did the sexological bodywork training, Caro, that there's over 56 different identities and pronouns. And I was like, I'm coming into this as like, okay, I'm just man, woman, masculine, feminine, okay, gay, of course, gay or trans, a couple that I knew, of course. But there's like 54 different like gender variations, and also like all these different pronouns and liquid and fluid, and I was like, oh my god, this is another level. This is another language.
A whole new world. Yeah.
A whole new
world for simple Simon. What the hell is going on there? Yeah, but it is of course, also very important, especially when we talk about sexual revolution, sexual power, like, and even like, I was thinking that, I don't know if you guys have had it on your naked retreat, where someone was, for example, non-binary or not, because you also separate the groups in men and women.
Well, and we have queer. So far, we've had queer and gays.
Okay.
Would define themselves as queer and gays.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of, I don't know if they would term themselves non-binary. What was Dan? There was a term that Dan used. Do you remember? I can't remember. He had one. There's kind of gender fluid. We've had a couple of, but what happened is that we have this thing sometimes where we have this idea of kings and queens. It's kind of a game. And we got some friends who are queer and gay, and they're like, oh, we can't be doing kings and queens, right? That's rubbish. But we could do quinks.
Yeah.
Right. So they created quinks, we were like, awesome, you're a quink, right? And we were like, cool, because it's a gameplay, right? It's like it's kind of just moving us into this idea of playful with sovereignty. And also, one of the things we do on Naked is we invite people to kind of lose their name. Like completely lose their name, So we have these fun names like whatever, King Spandex, or we have like random names that people can call themselves. So that during that time, we also kind of strip away hearing our name and what that means and so on.
And the identification, I guess.
And the identification to that. And one very last thing I want to say on the sexuality, I know time-wise we've got to rock and roll, is that one thing I say, and even to my friends, I have a lot of gay friends, and is that when we talk about sexuality and energy work and breath and moving energy and, you know, whatever that looks like, everything we share kind of on partner practices can be shared with different gender orientations, yeah? Gay, you can still do a lot of this work. And the one point I would always say is that for whatever reason in this mystery, you know, the yoni and the lingam, I know some people just have a big problem with the yoni and lingam, and it goes back into roots of how we've been treated even in our youth and trauma experiences and so on, right? So many layers, it's complex. But there is something that when the lingam is entered into the yoni, when we move beyond all the identifications of form and gender and so on, there is an energetic exchange. It's not just about creating another baby, although that is, you know, part of it. But there is an energetic exchange that when you're breathing and you're plugged in, and you can be plugged in different ways, but when you're breathing and plugged in that way, and you're cultivating, there is an energetic exchange that takes place, right? Which creates a kind of yin-yang union vibe. Now, I'm not saying that yin-yang union vibe can't happen in gay couples, or it can't happen with anal play, or it can't happen in heart-to-heart, and it can't happen just energetic, because it can. But I'm just saying that there is a design, a beautiful design of the lingam and the yoni. And I'm not just heteronormative or whatever. I'm open to, you know, gay, queer, you know, I call myself atom, call me nothingness, you know. I'm not even identified to being a man in a monogamous relationship or anything like that. But I just want to bring that in for the dialogue, because I think that also has to be honored, that is a kind of design that is just in the mystery of this wondrous world.
No, that's really. Oh man, I could talk to you guys for 3 days. Okay, then 2 more questions I had, and then we.
I don't know if we have time for 2 more, do we? Go on.
Well, you know, like let's do it really quickly. Because the one question I really had, and I don't think I asked you guys because it was something that I was wondering during at the retreat, is have you done your own like sort of courses, and what kind of have you gone through of course you've gone through your own practices as well, and like what have you done to then also be teaching this? Because for example, I think you guys also use some Osho meditation techniques and all the kind of stuff during the Naked Retreat. What have you guys done yourself?
For our own development, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, much of what we kind of teach is what we picked up along the way, like the training in trainings or workshops and spaces ourselves. So we're kind of both maybe gifted in the sense that when we see somebody share something profound, we both have a lot of curiosity, so we always kind of just absorb that stuff. But I personally have done a lot of work around anger release and like what it means, and a lot of studying around the topic of anger and how it impacts our psychology and physiology as well, and how we can release it safely, because that was one of my topics in terms of like having a lot of suppressed anger and not standing in my power through that, because when as women we don't have a connection, or as anybody, when we don't connect to our anger, or we over connect to it and then become raging hurricanes, we are, you know, we're in a battle with that emotion. So there was a lot of studying that I did around that, and later on which led me to Osho, and which led me to, you know, practices that help us cathartically to move emotional energy that got stuck in our body physiologically. Sometimes from 10 years ago, from childhood, the shutdown mechanisms that happen when we are little children, when certain people say certain things to us and we're not allowed to express our emotions, they carry throughout into adulthood and then start still ruling us, as I say, from the inside out. So I'm very, very passionate around emotional maturity and how we can learn to become more integrated with our emotions, not just by necessarily realizing we're not them, but by also moving them, because emotion is energy in motion. And it's just something that wants to actually express itself. And the other thing that I have done is I studied Tao Tantric Arts, a 5-week women's retreat in which I learned a lot of amazing practices, and beautiful tools in order to hold space for women, but also for men, because some of these practices are not gender orientated. So it was a very magical journey for me inside, deeply inside, and at the same time very empowering to do that. And then obviously along the way we've done many retreats and things like this, where we do our work. I find it extremely important that people who hold space for others are also attending retreats and workshops and these spaces where we can look at our own stuff, because these are the blind spots that then will come up in retreats where with other people, if they trigger us, if we're not aware of what's going on, we can start to stir the pot. So we love attending retreats. Even last year we had I think 3 or 4 retreats that we did. One was a couples retreat and all sorts of different ones. So for me, I could spend all my time in retreats if I really had the time and the money. I'd love to I love learning so much. So for me, this is a very
well, especially what you're saying as well, space holders. I think there needs to be ongoing education, right? You need to keep learning yourself and keep going through the processes yourself in order to also
we are constantly learning, but I mean it's an interesting question, because I kind of feel like I could stand here now and say to everyone, listen, I did this and this, which kind of means nothing. I could say, I'm a yoga teacher, but I know yoga teachers that are just crap. That's rubbish. and yet they've studied yoga and they do yoga. I know people that have been in an ashram with Osho when he was around and so on, and they're unconscious as hell. So it's like, for me, it's not about actually labeling what I've done. It's more like, life is my teacher. Every single person that I meet is a reflection of my divinity. Everyone, how do I treat and show up? The best way to know whether I'm living what I preach is hang out with me. It's like, ultimately, I've studied this and I've done that. But again, for example, I did sexological bodywork, but you do sexological bodywork, and if you don't understand how to do bodywork, you can come out of that training and you can go traumatize people. Really the question for me is, my real invitation for everybody is stop lying and speak your truth. I was a criminal, and I was a criminal and a liar and a cheat, and I stopped lying and I started living my truth. So for me, the living embodiment of that transition, gives me the permission to put myself in a place of integrity to support people to do what I've done. So for me, it's really about life experience. Life experience is far, 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 far greater for me as an embodiment than going to a retreat and thinking that I'm a tantric teacher because I did a retreat.
Exactly. Now, I think that's life experience. I think is extremely important, and you see the difference, you
studied yoga. Dara studied to be a yoga teacher. Don't get me wrong, I love all that.
No, but I totally 100% agree what you just said. 100% agree what you just said. It doesn't mean anything,
Right. When I was an actor, I was a kind of a rogue actor, if you want to call it that. I just got myself into acting. I got into a theatre school and so on. And then when I started to really study a bit more acting and see some of the so-called great actors, which many people are striving to be famous and rich and be the actors, and you meet them, many of them were just criminals, a lot of them were just criminals, I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, wasn't he a crackhead? And then he got pulled in. I don't even know if he got pulled in because he was a crackhead and then needed a crackhead, right? And then and then he become, he's Samuel L. Jackson now, right? But the point is really, for me, I'm always saying this to Dara, and this is it. Are we living what we teach and practicing what we preach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if we're not, we're charlatans.
Yeah, you're unauthentic communication.
Yes, and if we're charlatans, rather just go and not do this work and just hang out making movies or just whatever, just be a liar, just
be a crackhead actor.
Right, why put ourselves into this environment and then not even
of course
to live it.
100%. Mean what you say what you mean, that kind of totally.
You're that too, but it's
no, but it's really good. I mean, I love everything you said is totally and to round it up, because I have 50 other questions, but we'll do a second episode for sure, because you just have to come back. Simon might come back with his book also.
Yeah, well, you're going to come on my podcast too.
So. It was just mentioning as well, he wrote a book, From Burglar to Buddha is what your book's called, right, Simon?
Burglar to Buddha.
Burglar to Buddha, Super nice.
From taking without asking to giving unconditionally.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I really like that. Because what is it like? So just to round it